Welcome to Built on Faith Homestead or Leaving Egypt, depending on which video platform you like to watch your content on. My name is Justin. Today's video is going to kind of be an update video a little bit. We're going to take you around, let you see all the animals, let you see the garden, kind of how things are doing. Hopefully you will join me in a prayer for rain. It is awful dry. It was real dry last summer and it's already awful dry this summer. We sure do need the rain, there's no doubt. But we'll update you on that. We'll talk about the church camp that we were preaching at last week and the reason why we weren't making those videos. We'll kind of update you on what happened there, and we will talk about our very short-term lamb farming, sheep farming maybe, that we did. That's a good story. You're gonna want to stick around for that. And we'll just kind of go from there. We appreciate you guys. If that sounds like something interesting, come along with us. All right, before we even try to milk, we need to get this guy some feed, or he'll do that the whole time. Morning, Forrest. How are you, sir? Are you good? You doing good? There you go, bub. Eat up. Maybe he won't be quite so noisy the whole time we're milking. So this is Forrest. For those of you that follow our channel, you remember when we first got him. He is blind. He was born blind. He is our blind beef steer that we are raising up for some freezer meat, truth be told. That's the reason why he is in this panel-like pen in the back of this shaded barn, because he will hurt himself if we put him in anything like a barbed wire fence or anything like that. In here, he doesn't really hurt himself. Plus, the kids come out here all the time and visit with him and give him feed. And he's spoiled. He's really spoiled. He responds to our voice good. Comes over, he knows he's going to get some scratching. So he's kind of all about that. But that's Forrest, growing nice and big, and we're thankful for that. For those of you that are not familiar, this is Wilma, our family milk cow. Let's give you a little history about Wilma, the family milk cow. Wilma, the family milk cow, was a gift to us by some brothers and sisters in the Lord that attend the church that I pastor. Our previous milk cow, Stella, bloated in the middle of the night, and of course we didn't know it, and when we woke up, she was dead. And our friends that go to this church, go to our church, found out about this and wanted to gift us with a family milk cow. Now, I'll leave those friends remain nameless because they asked to remain nameless. However, we're very thankful for Wilma. These people bought her from another farm, and when she got here, she had mastitis in one of the quarters, and we got that took care of. If you've seen those videos, we got that all took care of. However, it did dry out that one quarter. But out of the other 3 quarters, we are getting about between 3 and 4 gallons a day, which is plenty of milk. And we're very thankful. She's very good demeanored. We really like Wilma. She's a good little milk cow, and we're very, very thankful for her. And I tell you that because, man, churches get a lot of bad rap. And unfortunately, a lot of it's warranted. A lot of it is true, and it shouldn't be that way, and it's aggravating. However, churches also do good things, and good church people and God's people, God's children, like, they still do good things. And I don't want you just to hear all the bad, right? You need to hear some of the good too. Like, they gift people sometimes with a family milk cow, or they have a benefit like our church recently did for a man that is needing a prosthetic leg, right? So we had a benefit, fish fry and singing, and it was good stuff, right? Like, we had a good time, and a good time in the Lord. And by the time it was done, it was really more like a church service. There's a lot of people praying, and it was good stuff, right? So there's still good things that occur. Let's talk about that youth camp for just a little bit, that church camp. Man, that church camp was awesome. There's a bunch of kids there, somewhere around 70 kids. Many of those kids were really young. However, man, to see them praying and to see them praying with their friends and all those kinds of things, what a blessing. There were several of the slightly older ones maybe, but several that turned their life over to the Lord, asked the Lord to save them, and ask the Lord into their hearts. So that makes it all worth it right there, right? And I know that there were several also that were excited to take what they felt at this church camp back to their home church. Kind of a spirit of revival is what a bunch of them were talking about. The sponsors as well. Like, man, we almost feel like we've been in revival this week. And they were excited about taking that back to their home church. And so, what a blessing that was, right? And then, of course, to see all the kids play. And they had a snack shack after services, and everyone was running to the snack shack and having a good time, man. So that was a lot of fun, and that's why we haven't been making videos, is because we were doing that. And of course, we pastor a church, and we have responsibilities there as well. And our video making will suffer whenever we have that much going on. But that's okay. The Lord's called us into a few different things, primarily preaching His Word, which means that we pastor a church because He has called me into the pastoral work. So we pastor a church, but we also go and do revivals and youth camp and those kinds of things, and they'll always take precedence over our video making. However, the Lord has convicted me over the years to make sure to make videos. So, which is funny. I'm the least technologically advanced 30-something-year-old you'll probably ever meet. I don't care for it. I don't like it. I don't really care for social media. I don't particularly like it. However, the Lord has called us into making these videos. So we just try to do the best we can with them and approach it with some seriousness and try to do what we feel like the Lord has called us to do with them. So that's kind of what has been going on there. We get done milking, and I'll show you the chickens and the goats in the garden and those kinds of things. So, oh, no. I need to tell you guys about our lamb farming. Speaking of good things. This is not going to sound like a good thing, but it's a good thing, I promise you. And before I ever start, I want you to know I am not complaining at all. I'm very thankful. We should have been recording it. It would have been YouTube gold. However, we were kind of right in the middle of everything, and there was no way that was going to happen. Let's talk about our lamb farm, and I got to move. Wilma's made a little bit of move here. Let's share that story. So, before we go too far into this story, I want you to understand something, okay? I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining at all. I'm very thankful. However, it was some good fun. It would have been YouTube gold had we been recording. However, this was right before that camp. We were trying to get some things done. I was not recording at all what had happened. The long story short, I had a young man get a hold of me that goes to our church, and a lamb had come available for free. He's a friend of his, and he called me. He was like, "Do you want this thing?" And I talked to my wife, and we were like, "Absolutely," because we've been wanting to try it. So I was like, "Let me go. Give me a little bit here, and we'll go get it." And so I show up at this guy's farm, and I should have known at the beginning because he was a little rough to load. In fact, I thought we were going to kill the thing before we ever got him loaded. However, we got him loaded. I put him in the back of the truck in that same cage that I hold the goats in. And before I got out of there, he had headbutted every wall of that cage pretty good, right? And I thought, man, this may be more than we bargained for. However, he headbutted it all once, and then he quit headbutting it, and it was all good. He was real calm the rest of the drive home. So I was like, yeah, maybe it won't be so bad. Our plan was to bring this guy home, separate him for a few days, make sure everything was good, and then I was going to turn him in with our goats and just kind of let him hang out until after this youth camp was over. The problem was, when I got home, I put him in a pen and in that electric netting stuff, and this guy went berserk in that electric netting. He hit it, he got all tangled up in it. I couldn't get him out of it. It was a mess. And so finally I just bear hugged him before he tore everything up and hollered at my wife. I said, and now listen, for some of you, and this may be a little too much, but I hollered at my wife. I said, hon, just go get the pistol. And she said, we're just going to go ahead and butcher him today, ain't we? I said, we're going to butcher him today before he tears everything up. Did you unhook yourself? No, rope just got long on you. So before he tore everything up, we decided, you know what? Let's go ahead and end this ram. Go ahead and end this lamb's life because this was the point of his existence anyhow. And so we went ahead and ended his life and butchered him. And it was not as planned. In fact, it was a day that my wife was kind of after me about taking a day and kind of resting because I hadn't for a while. And it turned into quite the wild day. So our kids were outside whenever all this was going on. And Melissa had to wrap up the other two kids and go around the corner of the house while I ended this animal's life. And of course Leah, she was all like, Luella wasn't here, and Luella got here then. Leah was telling her the story. You guys got whacked with the tail. Leah was telling her the story about this crazy lamb. Hey, listen, I don't want you scratching me. I don't want you scratching me. And yeah, it was pretty wild. So we were not sheep farmers for very long. We were sheep farmers for about 30 seconds or so. However, it is packaged up and in the freezer, and we are very thankful for that guy as well. All right, girl, listen, I want to finish this. I know you want your head scratched, but my ribs and chin is not the place to do it. Huh? You say hi? Say hey, everybody. You say hi? Well, she wouldn't hurt a fly, I don't think, but she might hurt you wanting a little extra loving. We'll catch up with you as soon as we're done milking. So our chickens are doing pretty good. However, when it gets this hot, they don't lay as well. However, they've laid good enough to keep us in eggs. They've definitely slowed down a little, but not terribly. They're still keeping us in eggs, which we'll take. We'll check them this morning and see what they have. Lots of food, but a whole lot of water, because it's just been so hot and dry around here. If you're gonna have chickens, you need to have enough, more than you think, because when it gets really hot or really cold, they just don't lay quite as well. If you're thinking that a little bucket's not enough feed for all these chickens, you're right. However, they got all kinds of scraps this morning, and I really want them eating the scraps more than the grain. That's a quick update on the chickens and the heat. Actually, today's not terrible. I mean, it's not comfortable outside, but it's not miserable. It's supposed to be the best day of the week so far this week, so we better take advantage of it. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. When I got done milking, the wife had breakfast ready, so I ate breakfast and hung out with the kids a little bit. I haven't spent much time with them last week or so. So it's a little bit later in the day now, but we'll get this wrapped up and finished up and bring you around to the rest of the critters. Look forward to going to the goats. They're crazy. So that ought to be good fun. So this is what I'm talking about. It's about 10 eggs. Not a ton. We eat pretty easy, close to a dozen a day, especially if the wife does any cooking, extra cooking that requires eggs or anything like that. So some days we may have like this, and then maybe tomorrow we may have, you know, 15 eggs or something like that. It all works out to where we pretty well we're keeping ourselves in eggs without having to really ration them down. Sometimes in the wintertime, we really ration down our eggs because you just don't get as many. Or probably this week when it gets really super hot. In fact, probably what I'm going to do to help the egg production, add a little bit of black oil sunflower seed to their feed and crushed red pepper. That crushed red pepper, I don't know what it is about it. Old timers told me about it. I thought they were nuts, but I finally got desperate enough to try it, and it seems to work really well. So it's worth a shot anyway. However, it's enough to eat on anyhow. So thank the Lord for that. Try to get the goats took care of. Back up, little buddy. What are you doing? Hey, hey, back up. It doesn't work that way. You know that. Wet. Hey, hey. The electric fence is off. They know it. Come on, guys. Tricked you. It's always a little crazy feeding the goats. You might think to yourself, well, they act that way because they don't get enough food. Listen, they got plenty of food. They're just crazy. And we have grown to really like them. I will say this about them, as you can tell, they're not going to purposefully hurt me, but they could definitely get somebody hurt just with how excited they get when you get in their pen. They get like this every time you come in here. They're excited to eat. This was where the greenhouse was. The greenhouse got blown away. I tried to do an early spring garden in here, and with everything we had go on in our life and the extreme lack of rain we got this spring, the garden itself did not do very well. But I had weeds probably about this tall in here just a few days ago, and they annihilated them, as you can tell, which was good. I had some radish and some of that wasabi radish and some beets over here. Once again, none of that did all that well, but they even pawed up and dug up. Like there's one of the wasabi radishes. So they definitely did work in here, which is good. It's a good thing. It's part of the reason why we got them. We really enjoy the goats. They have kept things interesting around here. They do great with the electric netting, as long as you make sure and keep it on most of the time. Of course, it was off whenever I was coming through with the feed. They figured out it was off. That's why the one stuck his head through. I don't know if you can see it on camera. He's probably too close to the camera. But he stuck his head through the fence here, was trying to get to the feed bucket. But everybody loves the goats. It's a lot of fun having them. We are excited this fall to get them bred and have some baby goats one of these days. Let's go look at the garden. All right, we're gonna go through the garden, but before we do, I must warn you, remember, we have been involved in church camp all week. We got the garden in late. It kind of is what it is. It's not terrible, but it kind of is what it is, okay? So no judgment. Let's take a look at what we got going on. So this needs weeded desperately. But like right here is some of the dill that we like to grow every year when we make pickles. These are some of the tall weeds that are in the area that gets watered. Here is our potato tower. Once again, very late start, but we do have some potatoes trying to make. I did water this morning while I was milking. So our green bean plants growing in nice and pretty. Pepper plants, which have got a few peppers on them that need harvested. Pepper plants, more weeds down the end, down there. More pepper plants and weeds. This all needs weeded. It hasn't been taken care of. Now, our pepper plants stop right here. We had just run out of plants. That looks like a volunteer tomato plant. We may just let that grow and see what happens. A couple of them in there. So, here's our weed patch. It's got some turnips in it from turnips that went to seed and all that. I'll probably just let them grow, see what they do. I know it's gonna be way too hot for them, but even if they produce a few turnips along the way, it'll be worth eating. Here's our tomato plants that we have planted this year. Got some blooms on them, got a few green tomatoes. They desperately need tied up. That's something that we'll probably work on a little bit later today. Which, by the way, give you a tip that we like to use. This bag here is full of baling twine. That's from the square bales that we get for Wilma the milk cow. I save the twine when I cut it because it works great for tying up tomatoes, and there's no sense in buying something extra whenever this comes with your hay. Here's our zucchini. For some reason, our zucchini and cucumber did not germinate great. I'm not sure what the deal is, but it'll work, right? So we don't need very many zucchini. We only did the one row. We've still got plenty of like zucchini relish, but we like to fry some and eat it. Here's our cucumbers. Once again, did not germinate great. I don't know really what happened, but they are growing. And so we will do the best we can. My plan is to add a bunch of rabbit droppings to these things to help the plants that are growing. But they're growing. Need to do some weeding, but stuff's growing. This is our okra plants. they germinated okay. Some corn that we've got growing, and then some cantaloupe that all needs weeded once again. But here's some of your cantaloupe plants down through here, growing and looking good, and some watermelon plants and weeds. So the truth of the matter is, you're gonna have times like we've had recently in your life. You're gonna have times when you are trying to grow a garden and all of that, and you get busy with other things, and you just can't dedicate the time that you would like to sometimes to things like gardening or even animals or anything like that. If you're going to live this lifestyle and you do anything else, see, I don't make a living off of YouTube. I don't make a living off of our gardens and those kinds of things. I have other things in life that I have to do. I have other things that God has called me to do, which means you can't necessarily just pour everything into a garden like this. But a garden like this today, if I'll spend, I don't know, maybe an hour or 2 hours working out here, it will do wonders for this garden. And I know that. So that's something that will probably happen today, because it is not miserably hot. It's warm, but it's not miserably hot today. So we'll get off here and get to work, guys. Please stay tuned for some, not stay tuned, that's probably not the right way. Please be looking forward this week to some videos. I got some videos I'm very excited to make. Some research and study that I've been doing. I'm very excited to make some videos this week, but I wanted to catch you guys up just on our gardening and all those kinds of things. We've already been talking about canning plans because my wife, Melissa, you may know her as Modest Mom, my wife is pregnant, and we have 3 children, and we live in a little tiny home, and sometimes you have to start making plans. So we've been making plans for that, and getting ready, knowing that it will be here shortly. That time where she'll be canning something most every day in order to stay ahead of the canning. That was weird. Must have been a mole under my foot or something. I thought maybe I was standing on a snake, but that wasn't it. I don't know, that was weird. Anyhow, we are excited for that. Excited for the garden that is growing, and we trust that the Lord will give increase. We'll plow, we'll water, but it's the Lord that gives increase. And we'll do the weeding, we'll do the work. Some of this that you're seeing once again is turnips from having our winter turnips in here. They seeded, and now a whole bunch of turnips are coming up. And in areas where we don't have plants, I'm probably gonna let them grow just to see what they'll do in this insane amount of heat. I might as well. They're not hurting nothing. Now I'll weed them just like I would anything else around the plants. But anyhow, appreciate you guys watching. I'm rambling. We'll catch you guys on the next video.